Well, to discuss the developing political stories, we're now joined by political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. A lot happening on the political front. Let's start with the axing of the DA's Deputy Minister, of course, of Trade and Industry, Andrew Whitfield. DA leader John Steenhuisen saying there not too long ago, calling this a calculated assault on the DA. And in return, he's now calling on President Cyril Ramaphosa to fire Thembisi Melane, David Mahlobo, and Nobuhle Ngabane, and other ANC ministers and deputy ministers implicated in corruption within the next 48 hours. What do you then make of these developments within the DA and of course the DA's ultimatum?
Yes, I think this came as quite a surprise. The fact that this deputy minister has been removed from government now. And I think the reason that has been given is something that's been used very often to remove persons from political parties. It goes actually back to 1996 when Winnie Mandela was removed as a deputy minister for a similar reason about traveling outside the country. Floyd Shivambu more recently. But I think that's not the issue. And I think that's not the real explanation for what has happened and why he has been removed. I think the position of the department and the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Competition is the real reason. Not so much for what John Steenhuisen directly said, but I think in a wider context. When last year, when they negotiated this division of seats in the cabinet, the Ministry of Trade and Industry was initially given to the DA, and not the deputy minister, but the minister's position. And that was changed at the last moment so that Park Staal from the ANC took the position as minister. And the reason for that is because it's about industrial development, it's about economic development in general, and about trade relations, which is regarded by the ANC as one of their most important functions as government. And I think the fact that it includes, for example, the element of black economic empowerment, we know the DA is very critical of that. And I think that has become a thorn in the flesh of the minister, Park Staal, as well as the ANC in general. And I think that is closer to an explanation of what has happened now. Then on top of that, yesterday, the DA voted on a motion of no confidence against the mayor of the ANC mayor in Johannesburg. And that is actually now two senior members, the two biggest parties in the government of national unity, coming against each other in that. So I think that has upset quite a number of people in the ANC also. And at the same time, I think there's a feeling in the ANC, and especially amongst President Ramaphosa, that he must demonstrate that the DA is not getting the upper hand on the ANC, especially when it comes to government matters, as well as what happens within Parliament. And the budget is one of the big examples of that. And because they are voting on the budget now, today again, it is. I think these things are all linked to each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you've unpacked it very well, Prof, in terms of just contextualizing some of the reasons behind that move. Fundamentally, though, what does this then mean for the GNU? I mean, when you also consider that Steenhuisen says that within the next 48 hours, quote unquote, we will find out if the DA stands alone as, you know, the only party that can be trusted to govern responsibly and take South Africa forward. Also, meetings, high-level meetings also taking place. I would imagine that is going to be a question that is posed during this high-level urgent meeting that was called for the DA's federal executive today, as well as, of course, we know that next month the ANC's NEC is also going to be meeting.
Yes, no, you are indeed correct. But what was for me most important about the speech of John Steenhuisen as leader of the DA in Parliament is the fact that he said that despite this, they are going to vote in favor of the budget. Now, that was the real test, I would say. If they've said, you know, we are not going to vote and we are going to oppose it now, it will put the government of national unity in disarray. It will be a major crisis for it. because it will be very difficult then to pass these different legislations within the budget. And it will, to a large extent, make the future of the GNU very uncertain. The fact that he said we are going to continue to vote in favor of it, not to support the ANC, but for, as he put it, in the interest of the country as a whole, I think was by implication an endorsement of the government of national unity. So I think what we are going to have to get used to is the fact that within the government of national unity, and especially between the ANC and the DA, we are going to see these sort of, how should one put it, a sort of tussles sometimes, power contestations, but not necessarily in order to threaten the existence of the government of national unity. So it's not a very typical coalition, therefore, but it is something which I think they have inherently committed themselves to continue with.
Yeah, Prof, I could discuss this all day, but I want to ask this other question now in light of these new developments. Former President and MKP leader Jacob Zuma announcing in a statement that he has launched a court application against the ANC and President Cyril Ramaphosa over the termination of his ANC membership. 1 year on, what do you make of this?
Well, he already tried to take it to court and it was dismissed then. So I think this is now another attempt and the reason for this, I think the overarching reason for this is it's a way in which he tries to delegitimize the President Ramaphosa's leadership of the ANC by saying, I am still part of the ANC, but not the current ANC. I want to be part of the ANC to maintain my link with the ANC in order to be able to change it ultimately, to change it to the type of ANC that he thinks is the authentic ANC. And what is also important and symbolic about it is today is the day of when the Freedom Charter was adopted in 1955, on the 26th of June. And I think that symbolism is, President Zuma is very much aware of the power of this symbolism. MK and all these things around it, using the notion, for example, of a national high command, of which President Mandela was the original commander in the 1960s, all is about symbolism. So I think this is really what it is about. So it's a contestation, not about the ANC and the ownership, who is really in control of not just the leadership of the ANC, but the notions, the values of the ANC. And I think that is why he's continuing with this approach.
Interesting times. Prof, thank you so much for your analysis. Professor Dirk Kotze is a political analyst, just weighing in on some of the developing political stories we are following.